Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Weird Wednesday video. Today, finally, I'm going to do my review rant of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Really quick before we get into this, I have 3 disclaimers I want to address before the video starts. First and foremost, as you can tell from the title of this video, this is a rant. If you like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but you also can't stand to listen to anyone who doesn't like it talking badly about the show, then click away right now. Go. Secondly, apologies if this video ends up being quite long. On my notes, all I did was give myself some bullet points because rant videos are just not as fun if they're scripted. I might go off on tangents, who knows? I'm sure editor Vicky is going to hate me when she sits down to try and work this down to a reasonable length. And finally, I have seen the entire show, even the Christmas special, so I definitely will be talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show and you still want to watch it, then maybe you shouldn't watch this video just for this reason, because I will definitely be talking about the end of the show. I basically just wrote down bullet points, you know, just quick, like 1-sentence reasons why I don't like the show. They're not in any particular order, but let's just address each one, shall we? So first is Sabrina is problematic. Basically, she always essentially gets her way without any consequences, which is just annoying, but not necessarily, I guess, a character flaw. What is really a flaw is she literally derails events, any and all events, for her little crusades for righteousness. Again, not necessarily bad, except she literally does not take into account her family members' like beliefs and feelings before she goes on one of these crusades, and essentially doesn't listen to them until after something goes horribly wrong. In the show, she has just turned 16, so she's young, she's stupid, whatever. The show gives off this vibe that she's super inclusive, that the show is super inclusive. There's definitely a variety of characters in here. Like, the only thing she cannot accept is her family's belief in the Dark Lord, which I'm kind of just like, so everything else is okay unless you worship Satan, in which case you're wrong, you're bad, I'm not gonna give a shit about your feelings. Like, she drags her family down so many times and just doesn't listen to them, and then at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying she doesn't love her family, but you guys know what I'm getting at. Like, to me, it's problematic. Like, second is the little to no overarching plot. So usually with shows, there's some sort of like big, like greater plot that stretches over the entire season or multiple seasons or whatever. So it was my understanding that the overarching plot of this is kind of incited by the dark baptism or whatever. Essentially is supposed to be that Sabrina is going to go to the School of Unseen Arts, School of Unseen Arts, for Unseen Arts, I can't remember which one it is. She's gonna go there so she can learn to conjure the Dark Lord and defeat him. That is essentially the point. That is her goal. That's her journey. This just gets, there are just some episodes where straight up this whole plot is just not ever mentioned, doesn't get, you know, we don't move forward in any way because Sabrina goes on one of her crusades or one of her friends needs something, and I'll get into that in a second. But basically her dark baptism, which based on the trailers I thought was gonna last a lot longer in the show. I thought the whole first season was gonna be about this, but I was very wrong. Dark baptism is done in like 3 episodes. And then because she escapes her dark baptism, she like gets put on trial by her coven. So, and that's done in like 1 episode. I feel like they could have stretched those 2 events out a little bit more and spent less time on these side stories that I'm gonna get into here. But talking about her plan to defeat the Dark Lord, one thing I cannot understand is the fact that Sabrina literally tells anybody that will listen what her plan is. Like, again, I get that she's 16 and she's stupid. She's really stupid. But maybe don't tell everybody in your coven that your plan is to defeat the Dark Lord. Now, on to the too many side stories. Like I mentioned, this main plot gets put on the back burner constantly for all of these side stories. Like, every one of Sabrina's friends and family members gets their own shit. They have their own shit going on. They get all this attention from the show. I feel like it was too much for the first season. Like we should have just focused on like 2 side characters, you know, like her family maybe, and then like one of her friends like Harvey or something. And then in future seasons, focus on these other characters, her friends and things. Like, just gets too much. Like it's just all too much, and it just feels like thrown together. Like it feels like they made this show the night before it was due, you know? When you're working on a project the night before it's due, and it's just everything is just haphazardly thrown together with no real thought put into it because you don't have the time. That's what this feels like. And some of the side stories legit go nowhere. And then at the very end, like the last episode, aside from like the Christmas special, the last episode, it's like they just half-assed bring some of these side stories back to make it seem like it has something to do with the end of the show, when in reality we could have just not had it and it would have been fine. I don't know if that's making any sense. Now let's get into the subtext, which is not actually subtext, it's just plain old plot. So basically the show covers a whole lot of kind of controversial yet topical things. So like feminism, LGBTQ plus inclusion, racism, hazing, and religion. All of these like huge kind of touchy subjects for one reason or another are covered in this show, in this season, all of that. My problem is a lot of these are kind of like taken care of in one episode, where something will happen with one of Sabrina's friends or whatever, and she does a spell and gets on her soapbox, and then it's just like done in an episode. Do you know what I mean? And it's just super unrealistic. It just seemed like, again, they were just trying to stuff this show full of so much, like just stuff it full of whatever they could so that everyone would love it, but it just resulted in them only, like, you know, like if you stuff so much into it, you can only devote so much time to each thing. Where again, I just would have taken maybe 2 of these themes, spend time with that, really like craft a good message about that, whatever message you want to say about it, and then in future seasons cover the other stuff. Like the hazing episode is just so random, and then Sabrina just like solves it in the end, and then
oh, hazing is never gonna happen again at this school,
and then that's it, and it's done, and we never bring it up again ever, and it's fine. It's like, just, they didn't save anything for future seasons, you know what I mean? Like they've already covered all these topics, so what are they gonna do? Just shove them all into season 2 again? And some of you could be saying,
well, Vicky, maybe they didn't know they were gonna get a season 2.
Witches are so in right now, like there was no way it wasn't gonna get at least a 2nd season. Like, come on. Now on to the big one. Probably the main reason you guys probably assumed I was offended by this show, which is the whole satanic panic thing. Y'all know how I feel about this. Like, say it once, I'll say it a million times, witchcraft does not equal Satan worship. And then this show, you know, just brings it all back. Like, I'm just so over it. It's so 80s. I'm done with it. It's 2019. Like, let's just do better by it, okay? And, you know, speaking of the Satan worship in the show, which I have almost no knowledge about because, you know, witchcraft doesn't equal Satan worship, is more just a parody of Christianity in the show is what it feels like. Like, there are scenes and concepts that are literally just like Christian ideas, practices, celebrations, and they just like make it the dark version of that. So like the dark baptism, there's even a throwaway line from Aunt Hilda who says it? I can't remember. She mentions like a dark epiphany. There's in the whole like trial scene, which takes place in a like defunct church or something, and they're saying lines, you know, like how in a church you'd say like peace be with you and also with you. Like they just take those ideas and then just make them like dark and spooky, and that's Satanism. And I don't know anything about it because, you know, I just don't, but I do know that ain't it. That leads me to my final point, which is the purpose of this show. We're going back to the overarching plot here. So basically, I'm just gonna spoil the entire season. We find out, essentially, or it's hinted at the fact that Satan is grooming Sabrina to be his queen. So my question is why? And I was kind of asking this question the entire season because until we find out this little twist that Sabrina might be being groomed here, the whole point is that Satan wants her to sign his the Book of the Beast. You know, he wants her to sign her name in his book. So though, like, and it just kind of like begs the question why he's focusing so much time on her, because the show makes it seem like the whole reason is that as a baby, her father promised the Dark Lord that Sabrina would sign her name when it came time for her dark baptism. And she doesn't do this. And so Satan just has nothing else to do but focus his entire attention on making sure Sabrina signs his book. And then you find out that, oh, she's being groomed to be his queen. Why? Why Sabrina over everybody else? Why? I just feel like I didn't need to know the entire reason, because obviously, you know, then, you know, that would give away too much, but just a little hint. Why? Like, we have this being, this very powerful being, the god to these witches. This is who they worship. Why is he devoting so much time to Sabrina? Why? That's just my feelings on the show. So I mean, like, to recap, obviously I'm offended by this satanic panic thing because I'm just over it. Like, I just feel like it's a tired concept. We're done, like, stop. But even if I had just put all of that aside, I feel like the show just sucks. Like, they just stuffed too many character storylines in there. They, you know, they brush over these kind of important topics which they could have spent more time on just if they had just narrowed down their scope a little bit, you know, just focus on feminism or focus on LGBTQ plus stuff or just one thing. But no, they had to cram everything into season 1 to the point where it's just like, I can't even just watch the show for fun, ignoring the Satan worship thing. Like, I can't even just watch it because it just sucks. And yes, that's my opinion. And that's fine if you like the show, but your girl is not gonna be watching season 2. Like, I watched an entire season so that I could rant about it, so that I could feel like I had the right to rant about it, because I watched the entire season. I didn't want to watch the entire season, but I watched it all, every single episode. I gave it its chance. I'm not gonna watch season 2. That's it. Hopefully this wasn't too underwhelming, because I've kind of been teasing it for a while, but I also didn't want to talk for too long because I tend to go off on tangents. So if you've seen The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments section, whether you liked it or disliked it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday, and you can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video, even though it never really works. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye. This video is brought to you by all of these awesome Patreon supporters who are listed here on the screen. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to find out the perks to being a Creepy Patron Peep, you can follow that link that's in the description box. And if you want to check out more videos, you can click the video that's on the screen right now.